Well, good Saturday morning. It's fixing to be a wet one here. Starting to sprinkle. It's been kind of sprinkling off and on for about a half an hour. But here, when the wind blows, the rain is soon to follow. And it's very windy. The rain is coming. And as I back up, you'll be able to see the clouds. Guess I should pay attention to my backing. Take out my own fence here. It's one of those, yeah, looking at in the camera is not going to tell me what's behind me. It's telling me what's in front of me. So, as you can see, it's very cloudy. It's quite dark off to my right. When I make this left turn, you'll see how pretty and blue it is to my left, which is pretty typical for out here. You can go from one side of town that's storming, and then you get to the other side of town, and it's beautiful. Doesn't usually last long because, like I said, the wind is blowing, there's a storm coming, and so eventually what's here ends up over there or vice versa. So it'll follow. We're only supposed to have light rain today, and light rain tomorrow, and low winds tomorrow. We'll see. I trust the weatherman as much as I trust our politicians, so it's not saying a whole lot. Not a whole lot going on today. I'm going over to, well, somebody lost a car part. Going over to the Besties to teach a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old and their mom how to cross stitch. So we shall see how this goes, because all three of them have 3 different learning styles. Fortunately, cross stitch is pretty straightforward as far as like how it goes. I mean, it's very different than trying to teach somebody how to crochet, because there's so many different ways to hold the hook. There's so many different ways to hold the yarn. There's so many different stitches. You know, there's so many components to teaching somebody how to crochet that is difficult to do in a group. With cross stitch, fortunately, like I said, it's a pretty basic concept. But the hardest part is having the patience and the attention span to, you know how many stitches you're doing and not lose track of where you're at. So we'll see how this goes. I had the mom print out, nice little old car. Too bad it's not a beautiful day for them to be driving. I had the mom print out the patterns. They each bought 2 tiny little kits while they were out shopping yesterday. Yesterday. Basic kid kits. Mom said she bought one for herself too. I'm not sure if she bought like another kid kit for herself or she bought a big one. She didn't tell me. Excuse me. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Patience, focus, following a pattern. So I had mom print out copies of their patterns so that way they have a master copy and they have one that they can mark off while they're stitching. That's something that I want to teach from the get-go for anybody that's learning cross stitch, Because if you mark up your original pattern, you can only do it once. But if you're buying from a kit, if you order a PDF copy, obviously you have access to it all the time. But from a kit that has a printed pattern, if you mark up the original pattern, then you're kind of one and done. Whereas if you copy the pattern and use the copy to mark off on, you have that original copy to stitch that same pattern again in the future. The only difference then is that you only have the pattern, whereas when you buy the kit, you have the pattern, you have the cloth, and you have the floss and everything that you need to do it. Well, by saving the pattern, if you want to stitch it again, you have to go buy the Aida cloth, and you have to go buy all the threads for it. But you don't have to buy a whole new kit, which is like super, super expensive usually. You could, buying like a kit, like the size cross stitches that I do, it could cost me, $40-$50 to buy a kit. Whereas if I have the pattern already and I'm just buying the cloth and the fabric, or the cloth and the threads, it cost me half that, if even half. Especially if you happen to get lucky and you catch floss on sale. But if you're an avid cross stitcher, you're already watching for those sales, number one, and you have a stash. Most cross stitchers have a stash. It's a lot. I've done a video on all of mine that I have. And it's always funny that when I go to kit up a new pattern, how many colors I still don't have, even though I have a ton of floss. But watch on, Marketplace, Craigslist, all of those, buy nothing groups. I mean, you're going to find them all the time and get them for like next to nothing. And, like embroidery floss brand new at, say, Joann Fabrics could be anywhere between 40 and 65 cents a skein, depending on what sales are going on per skein. And you could go onto Marketplace and get 500 skeins from somebody who has given up cross stitching, for example, and get it for $10. And then you just figure out, okay, plump, pluck from that, whatever pattern from that stash, whatever pattern you're doing, go through and pluck from your stash, and that'll tell you what you now need to go purchase. So you end up buying less when you're starting a pattern if you already have a stash to choose from. And, if you've seen my video, my stash is pretty big. In fact, it doesn't even fit in one spot. At this point, it's like in three different storage locations. But never fails. Every time I go to start a pattern, I'm missing colors. But I'm used to that. So I also use a pattern software program called Pattern Keeper, and it's a one-time you get like a 30-day free trial, and then it's a one-time purchase, and it's a lifetime. This is so weird. This used to be a roundabout. That's why there's been all this road construction down here. They took out the roundabout and put a light back in. There used to be a light here. They took the light out to put the roundabout in. Well, this roundabout was always really stupid because it was so congested here, and it wasn't really effective at improving the flow of traffic because everybody would hit it so from all directions such, so condensed together that we were essentially stopped at, at intersections anyway. So I was like, dang, I never did know what they were doing, but I'm glad they put in a stoplight there. I like that way better than trying to maneuver. They're 2-lane, 4-lane merge, 2-lane exit. The way they had to design it to accommodate all the existing lanes of travel was ridiculous, and it was so confusing. Anyway, Pattern Keeper is a software program, like I said, and it's currently only available for Android. They are still they've been working for a couple of years now to get it available for other operating systems. I think Apple is the next one on the radar. I don't know what else is out there, but and it's a really great program because they partnered with a lot of cross-stitch design companies who their digital patterns are Pattern Keeper compliant, and so you're able to use that software instead of old school paper, pencil, highlighter, whatever technique you're using to mark off your pattern so you don't get lost. On Pattern Keeper, it does it all for you. And even better is when you're doing it on paper, you're constantly hunting for say the black triangle, and it's a symbol for number 310 black. I'm just gonna throw something out there. So when you're on paper, it's up to you, your brain, and your eyes to find all of the black triangles. And it is inevitable, and it is annoying, and it drives all cross-stitchers crazy. You think you got them all, you put your black away, you pull out your next color, get your needle all threaded, you start stitching, and bam, you find another black triangle. Single one, all by itself. Happens all the time. Well, with Pattern Keeper, you just click on the black triangle, and it automatically highlights all of them for you. So there's a lot less missed stitches. You can mark them off when you're done in a separate color. You can do different colors. There's a setting so that you can mark where you've parked a thread, and it counts down. So when you open a pattern, it'll tell you how many stitches are in the entire pattern, and it counts down for you, gives you a daily stitch count. And now, just on this last update, when one of your colors hits 0, you can choose to take it off your list. Before weren't able to do that. It would just have 310, and then in parentheses it would say 0, and go on to the next number. So even though you knew you didn't have any 310 left, you still had to look at it, which seems trivial. I get it. It seems really, really a trivial thing to be annoyed about. But it's really annoying because it still looks like you've got a lot to do. Whereas watching your color list shrink is just another level of acknowledgement that you're making progress and you're almost done. You're almost finished with your piece. So, and that's the countdown. It helps people. I don't even watch the countdown, honestly. I do watch the color count. And when it hits a 0, I can put the color away, which is nice because then it's less that I'm having to manhandle. But yeah, and that's great. But when you buy kits that come already set up, you already have the thread and everything like that, you can take a picture of it, convert it to a PDF, and import it into Pattern Keeper, and then it gives you a mark-off option, but that's it. You can't, the search option doesn't work, so it's a step above pen and paper in that you have a digital whoop, and you can mark out what you've just stitched, and if you make a mistake, you just undo that line. Whereas if you do it on paper, it's kind of hard to undo, because even if you used a pencil, erasing the pencil oftentimes actually erases the printed image as well. So you kind of messed yourself up. If you use a pen, obviously you can't fix that. If you used a highlighter, you can't unhighlight something. But if you import a PDF into Pattern Keeper, you can. You highlight it when you've done it, and if you make a mistake or you have to take it out, you can unhighlight it, which is nice. But the search feature is the bomb piece of that program, in my personal opinion. And so I hate doing kits now. I've never really super enjoyed them because the quality of the thread usually is not very good. Even when they use DMC colors, they're not DMC brand, and so they're just the quality of the thread is not very good. So I prefer not to do used kits, but I buy them every once in a while because I love the pattern. I'm like, well, while I've got the supplies, I might as well use them. And then, then I have the pattern to keep. But it is what it is. I've got my selfie stick. We may or we may not record some of this. I will take that up with the residents once I get inside. But that's it for now. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't, please. Feel free to share my videos. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Bye.